Good morning, Amanda. Thank you for joining us today. And how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Now, you're talking today about integrated marketing for businesses. What I'd like to just first of all start talking about is who you are and why integrated marketing for businesses actually matter.
Who am I? My name's Amanda Dodd. I run a company called Koogar, based on the Wirral in the UK. We are an integrated marketing agency, which basically means that we have a look at everybody's marketing elements and make them work together. There's lots of hands and things floating around. It's all quite...
That's me.
So integrated marketing is really important now, even more so that social media is actually taking a hold of marketing channels. Integrated marketing essentially means that you share the same message across lots of different platforms and lots of different marketing elements. So before social media, what tended to happen was you were on radio and that's where that message stayed, or you were on TV and that's where that message stayed. So integrated marketing is about enabling you to share the same message across lots of different platforms to lots of different people, to basically show off that you've got something to say and what it is that you could actually do for them. So that's what integrated marketing is.
So are you telling me then that people get that wrong? Because I would have thought that the same message would have come across everything.
It shouldn't come across everything, or it should.
So that the same message would go across. The same message would go across all the platforms that you're using.
Yes, basically. So integrated marketing is about having the same message going out across all different platforms. So there's a lot of people at the moment who talk about you shouldn't have whatever goes out on Facebook going out on Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn,
really?
which is true to a point. However, the message that you're trying to convey to the people that you're wanting to talk to should be the same. So instead of having one campaign just for Facebook, you would have the campaign across all different platforms, but you would use Facebook's terminology, Facebook's liking, sharing, commenting kind of thing instead of Twitter's version. Does that make sense? So it's not necessarily the how you say it, it's what you're actually saying. Does that make sense?
Could you give me a bit more of an example? Because I know from my old marketing background that, yes, I get where you're coming from back with the different campaigns, because it's a way to measure your return on the investment. But if you're saying that actually to be a bit more congruent and tie it all in, are you saying that the same campaign should be split into different categories across the different platforms, or the same message but said in different ways so that it can measure?
Yes. That's exactly what I'm saying. So the message that you're actually putting out there, so it could be that you're running an event, or you're looking for speakers, or whatever it is, whatever that message is, the end result is still the same. You're trying to tell somebody about a specific event or something that's happening. But how you actually say it on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, it should be very different. Does that make sense? And that's where the integrated part comes into it, because it's not about putting out information on lots of different platforms in hope that people are going to see it. It's about spreading that word across all the different platforms. It's the same message, it's just said in a different way. It's said right for the people on Twitter. So you're using hashtags and you're using images and potentially video. Does that make sense? So it's the same underlying message, but it's just said in a different way on different platforms.
Okay, but that's quite tricky for a lot of companies, because I guess their problem is that once they say we are great, they want to adopt that tagline across everything.
Oh, of course they do. Yeah. So what tends to happen is that a company will create a marketing plan or strategy or even calendar, and that marketing plan, strategy and calendar will push out the exact same message to exactly every single, on Facebook, on the page, on the group. But what we have to actually work out is who sat on the other end of the computer. So if you've got a group, let's say, of members, a closed group just for members, and you've got a page, then the information that you're sending out to the page and the group needs to be different, because the page isn't necessarily for the members, the group is for the members, so they need to see a different kind of message. It's the same message, but they need to see it in a different way than people who aren't yet a member of your company or group. Does that make sense?
I think so. I mean, we've got Tony on the side. She's agreeing with you that she always says it's not about what platforms you're using, it's how you're using them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
But what tends to happen in a lot of companies is that they use dashboards like Social Sprout or Hootsuite or TweetDeck, and they just push exactly the same message out on exactly the same thing.
So it's actually better to have a few people doing the social media and actually targeting each platform appropriately for the language that's going on there.
Yes.
Than
for
using
the
an
language.
automated.
Yes, for not only the language, but also for the people that are sat there and the time of the day that they're sat there. So, if they're people at lunchtime, depending on what your company does, if people are sat there at lunchtime, what is it that they're expecting to see? What kind of information do they want to have? Because it will be very different from what they see at lunchtime to after work, when the kids are bed, the tea's done, or whatever. It's a very different message, and the action that you actually want them to take at lunchtime will be different from what you want them to take after 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. So,
okay.
So what I'm trying to say is the message, the end result is the same. It's just said in a different way.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Can you give us an example?
Give you an example. Okay, so let's say, for example, you're a catering company who not only does gala dinners, you actually do weddings as well, but only weddings that are looking at 20 grand plus. Okay. So at lunchtime, people who you've got to get in the mind of the audience that you're trying to attract. So the people who are wanting to spend £20,000 on a wedding will be looking on Pinterest, they'll be looking on Instagram, they'll be looking all day, especially ladies, all day, at any time they possibly can throughout the day to find, ideas on bouquets or dresses or whatever it is that they're looking for. Yeah. So at lunchtime, you might want to say on Facebook, let's say, for example, have you seen this? Doesn't this look pretty? And then on Pinterest later on at nighttime, when they have the buying decision, not that they haven't got the buying decision at lunchtime, but when they have more of a buying decision in terms of being able to move forward with that, getting the credit card out and actually paying for that thing at tea time or after
time
work.
Constraints.
So the message is still have a look at this thing, but now it's this price, and this person has said this because they've bought it, and this is what they thought of it. Does that make sense? So at first you're not selling. And ideally, you're never really selling anyway. What you're doing is your marketing is there for awareness. It's there for you to tell people what it is that you do, but without pushing it in their face. And I think that the social media has got the big spotlight on it at the moment. And I heard the other day that somebody said to me, they said, "Oh, direct mail doesn't work anymore." And I thought, really? Because when I did a newsletter campaign, I got $2,500 job out of that.
Oh, fantastic. So it does work.
2 letters. Yeah, it does work because a lot of people aren't using that anymore. But that's what integrated marketing is. It's pushing out the same message on lots of different platforms. So it could be direct mail. It could be on a telephone, when people ring you and they're on hold, it could be your on hold message. It could be on the website. It could be a video. It could be on social media. So depending on what it is that you're trying to say, depends on how you say it on which platform.
So it's actually really knowing what it is you're doing as a company in the first place, and not doing. So that goes back to Tony's point, which you made earlier, that social media strategies is so important. So you're not spraying and praying. It's really knowing what you're doing. Yes,
and it's about not. What a lot of people do is just push the same information out over and over and over and over and over again, which it is okay. But actually what we need to be thinking about is having a conversation. So I'm having a conversation with my perfect ideal customer. And if I'm having that conversation, they might not be talking back to me, but if I'm having that conversation with them, am I saying the right thing? Is it what they want to hear? Is it what they expect to hear? Because if it isn't, then they definitely won't come back to me. They won't engage with me. And the biggest problem that I find companies have is the engagement. They always want more engagement, but they never engage more themselves, if that makes sense. They're just pushing out information, and all they want to do is just say, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at our website, look at our testimonials, which is fine. I get that. But at the same time, it's about having a conversation. Now, there's
It's
two people
listening,
in a
it's
conversation. Yeah. And what tends to happen is the business owners, the marketing managers, whoever, don't want to actually initiate that conversation, and the conversation needs to be initiated.
Yeah. So
by both parties.
To both parties. So we've had some lovely comments from Tony, which I'll pick up in a minute. But we've had a question in from Rebecca as well. Do you mean email or postal letter as a part of the campaign when you're using
snail mail? The things with stamps. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's quite nice. Every now and again, I have a load of letters, thank you cards and things like that, and go to the post office. And the post office people are like, who are these for? Is it Christmas? Is it birthday? And no, it's not Christmas or birthday. They're just having it because they've either passed me a recommendation, or I've written a blog that I think is useful for them, because they're going through, a problem with, let's say, a member of staff or something that I know about. So getting something in the mail instead of having a white bill is quite nice, and again, everybody knows within marketing we need to show the people messages between 7 and 15 times before they're ready to buy. The social media has actually added an additional 15 to that, because there's that much advertising, that much information coming at us, not only on a computer but in all the different devices that we have as well. So if they have to see our message between 7 and 30 times, how often do you need to push that message out? And if you're pushing it out all the time, how different do you need to say it? Because you don't want to be blacklisted for repeating exactly the same tweet or update or blog. It's about repurposing the content that you already have, and not overusing stuff. If I'm making sense.
Yes. So in actual fact, there's a very good phrase about repurposing and not overusing, because I think a lot of marketeers are very mindful about being blacklisted. So is there a way to kind of measure and make sure that you're not overdoing it, or is it literally coming back down to having that two-way discussion so that the bots out there can actually see that you are actually engaging and it's not just a one-way push spamming everything? I think you need to have a look at what I tell a lot of businesses: have a look at your own news feeds and have a look at your own streams to see what it looks like. And if it looks like the same all the way through, especially on Facebook, if you're posting the same thing over and over again on Facebook, your page won't be seen as much to the people who like your page. So you need to be using different content. And it could be that, I've worked with a couple of authors recently, it could be that you take paragraphs out of your book, to say, oh, that, this is on page whatever, if you've read the book and you've got it. If you haven't, then this is where you go and get it. It's about starting a conversation. It's not about, as I keep saying, I don't know how else to explain it, but just pushing information out there and saying to people, this is why you should use us, because your news feeds and your updates should be filled with conversation. It shouldn't be filled with your stuff saying how great you are and have a look at our website. It should be filled with you and other people having conversations, so other people start to get involved and want to talk, and speak. But it doesn't seem to happen. It's just information about that business. There are a lot of websites I've come across and Twitter feeds which are just one-way conversations, where they're not even retweeting, they're not engaging, they're not favoriting, they're not liking anything else. It's just straightforward, them to shout, as it were. And
there's lots of people out there who will tell you, oh, you need to tweet something once an hour or once every 3 hours or once every 5 minutes. And actually, you're not talking all that much. You actually just need to have the right conversation. It's like going to a conference or a network meeting. You have to have the right conversation with the right person. It's not about just standing there and talking, expecting people to come up to you and say, and you're just talking. It's about having a meaningful conversation and making sure that it's effective, number one, and number two, that it's the right person that you're talking to in the first place. Because if it's not, then the conversation is wasted.
Absolutely. As Tony says, it's a noisy world out there.
It is. There's a little exercise to do when I speak. especially when I talk about social media, and I get everybody in the audience to stand up and tell me what it is that they do. So they all stand up and they're, you know, you've got this crowd of people shouting, this is what, you know, and you're like, I can't hear you at the back, I can't hear you. And then there's always one person that stands up. Like last week, there was a lady who stood on a chair and shouted at me, like really, really loudly, I'm a storyteller and I do this. And she was the only person who did it. And the point of that exercise is that's an offline version of Twitter, because everybody's just shouting and telling you information, but nobody's actually coming up to me and saying, Amanda, this is what I do. Is this something of service to you? Could you use it? Do you know what I mean? It's about engaging in the right conversation. It's not about having what I call vanity metrics and having 10,000 followers. Great having 10,000 followers, but if they're not actually talking to you, there's no point. If you've got 100 that are talking to you on a regular basis, and I'm not talking about just about business, I'm talking about everyday life, how your kids, how, you know, what did you have for breakfast? Because people still don't think that the breakfast and lunch thing is important, when actually it is. It's important because we relate to people, and when we relate to people, we like them more.
Okay, so going back to your example, because that's a very brilliant example. I can see that room, and even Jay saying that he listened to you doing that, and it was really, really effective. Okay, so would you actually say then the equivalent would be, instead of people actually staying in their seats, that somebody actually came up to you on stage or came to the stage?
Yes, and said, hi, this is what I do. I think that we're in sync. We could work together. Or you've got something that I could pass on to my customers, because essentially that's what we want to do in a network room, isn't it?
So in that case, then
it's not about collecting all those business cards and then just leaving them on your desk to not do anything with them.
Absolutely. So what you're talking about is just making sure that instead of making lots and lots of noise, you're just doing good old-fashioned grunt work of investigating who it is you want to talk to and actually making that personal connection, but using a social platform that they might be on. Yes. Actually try and get to them, but making the message relevant to that person. Yeah, because there's a lot of people out there as well, you know, social media gurus or whatever they want to call themselves, that say, oh, you need to be on every single platform. Actually, you don't, because the first thing that you need to be looking at is in marketing is, or one of the first things in marketing is, who is it that you're wanting to get in front of? Like the conversation we had before today, you told me exactly the type of audience that you want to attract, which is great, because that then allows me to pitch this at a certain level, and not talk a little bit, you know, too basic. So when we're looking at the exact person who we're trying to speak with, if they're on LinkedIn more so than they're on Facebook, then it makes sense to spend more time on LinkedIn. Yes, have a presence on Facebook, but that's not where you need to spend your time. Because running a business isn't about trying to get as many friends and followers as possible. It's about getting business. It's about making money. And I think that sometimes people forget that. And that's when they get a little bit overwhelmed with, you know, Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and, you know, Instagram, Pinterest, Vine, Snapchat, and all of these different kinds of things, because they've got too much on and they're not actually working out where exactly is my customer. Where do they sit? You know? Okay, I'm just going through some of the questions here.
Okay.
And because I was hoping Rebecca was able to jump in, because she had a question a little bit further up with, oh, hang on, here she comes. Okay, she has a question.
Cool.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, no, the question really is about the postal one. So where are we at from a legal standpoint of just sending out posts to people who haven't asked for it?
Well, this is the thing. Sending out posts to people who haven't asked for it, I wouldn't do that necessarily, because that's like a cold call, isn't it? How I send post out is I send post out to people who I've been introduced to, people who I want to speak to, or I've introduced myself to, either on Twitter or LinkedIn or wherever in a networking group, because it's actually easier to connect with somebody if they've met you either face to face, or you've had a telephone conversation with them, or you've spoken to them somewhere else. By not speaking to them and just sending them something in the mail. If I send something to you and you got it,
doesn't mean anything.
No. So what you're going to do, you're going to put it in the bin. You might look at it and go, okay, I might have a look at that later on, but then it's in that pile that we always collect. And it's always going to stay there.
That was my query about doing a campaign. I was thinking, I'm not sure that sounds like a great idea. We used to do them. I mean, I've been in business 25 years, and we used to do them.
Okay. Well, I did a campaign with newsletters, and I sent one out every 2 months, and it was part of a blog that was on the website, so they had a bit.ly link that they could then go and read the rest of it. So that was trackable. It was a little bit of a personal story. So one of them was when I got married. Another one was where my computer crashed, and it was about having everything backed up, and it was a story about that. And then I had a guest blogger and a guest person who wrote a blog on that for me, and I sent it out. And every now and again I'd put a post-it note on it and say, to people who I wanted to get into, I've got a couple of ideas. If you fancy having a chat over coffee, I'm more than happy. Here's my number, give me a ring. Now, on 2 occasions, the day after they were sent out, because I sent them first class, the day after I was phoned up, I got a meeting, and I got a $2,500 job.
So you're suggesting print out your newsletter that you normally send by email, post it to them and say, this is what I kind of get?
Yes and no. What I'm saying is have information that's printed out that somebody is going to keep. It's something that's useful for them, and that could then be passed on to somebody else. I wouldn't necessarily copy and paste what's on your website on your email onto your newsletter, printed newsletter, because what you want to do, yes, everybody has to see the same message, but what you don't want to do is give them the same thing over and over and over again, so they get a little bit bored about seeing the same title or the same how-to document or video. It's about mixing and matching. So you give them one thing that then leads them on to that other message, then leads them on to, and take a journey within your website to find out a little bit more about you.
Yeah, it's getting harder, isn't it, about how to sort of break into a new area and a new market. I think that's probably what a lot of us are struggling with. It's, yes, you've got to keep following up those that you've got connections with. It's those that you haven't got any connection with and you're desperate to try and get into, because you just know if you should go in front of them, they'd be interested in what you do. Okay,
so from what you're saying, then, if you're trying to get into somebody and you can't do it, is it because you haven't introduced yourself, either through LinkedIn, Twitter, or even gone in and said, hi, can I speak to whoever? Because, it's about building that relationship. It's not about if your service is better than somebody else's. It's always about building a relationship. I actually wrote a blog post. I got up, the hour went back. I got up really early, and I was so disappointed in myself. I wanted to have that extra time in bed, but I didn't. So I ended up writing a blog post, and it was about customer service. And the saying that it's not what you know, it's who you know. I always add change it around a bit and add a line. So it's not what you know nor who you know, it's how well you know them.
So it's back to the groundwork and doing the investigation again.
Yes. So it's working out who these people are, what do they like, are they the same as you, kind of thing. How do you relate in some way? Have you had the same problem that they've had? And get into it that way. It's about building that relationship.
So I think what I'm hearing, I don't know if anyone else is that actually rather than doing this mass stuff, you're doing really focused with just a few people at a time, so that you can really give them perfect sort of stuff, and then that should work better.
Yes and no. It depends on the size of the company. Now, if you've got 50 staff compared to 2, then that's a very different thing. If you've got 2 staff, yes, it's going to be on a very small scale. However, if you've got 50 staff, you're going to have a marketing team there who are going to be able to push stuff out for you. But what it is about, it's not about trying to get out to the masses. It's about trying to speak to the people who you already know and get them to speak to their friends and say, listen, these guys are great. Look at what they sent me. As I said, this blog post was about a bit of customer service that I received from my local garage. And I'm going to tell everybody about that. I'm writing a blog about it, and I'm going to share it with him, and he's going to probably, show off to other people. So it's about utilizing the people who you already know and their network for them to talk about you to get you more business.
Excellent. I shall leave you both to it, ladies.
Thanks for joining. This is all cool.
Yes, man. might have another question.
Yeah.
I could ask you questions all day. I love marketing.
Cool. There is another seat. I know Jay's had some fantastic ways of grabbing attention with his marketing campaigns.
He has. Yep.
Jay, if you're able, you're more than welcome to jump in. Oh. And also Tony. Tony's also been fantastic as well, if Tony wants to join too. Hi, Jay.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, Jay.
Hi, Jay. I love this idea of a remote control car. I can see that if the Geek in our office gets hold of that, we just certainly won't get any programming from him. And as for the Jenga,
Jenga?
That's when you,
we bought 20 Jenga games off eBay for a couple of quid each. Parceled them up. I wanted something that was, one, going to be weighty, something that was going to grab their attention that they weren't expecting. It was an odd shape when it arrived on people's desk. We sent it by courier, so it had to be signed for by the person that we wanted to be able to get it directly to. It couldn't be signed for by a receptionist. And all we did the day before is tweeted on their handle, "Look out for something strange in the post tomorrow." Sent you a bit of a surprise. So the anticipation was there. It wasn't coming completely blind or cold. But we specifically kept a piece out of the board game. It was specifically that there was one missing. Now, admitted, I mean, you can play Jenga with 98 pieces or 100 pieces, but the whole purpose was that I was going to bring the additional piece if I got the meeting with them to talk about us being a piece in their jigsaw puzzle and the missing piece in their puzzle, if you like.
Very good. Yeah.
But we sent 20 Jenga games. We got 19 meetings within the next 2 to 3 weeks of people saying it's an interesting method of being able to get in front of us. The other thing that we do is that we know full well that we have a short sales pitch of about 13 minutes that then goes on to, do you want to have a further conversation with us? So whenever we were booking the meeting, we always booked the meeting 13 minutes to the hour. So we knew that on the hour, they would be able to make a decision as to whether it was the right thing for us to be able to continue or not. But all of that has come about as a result of learning from some of the things that we've learned from. I'm a customer of Amanda's at Koogar, and all of the stuff that we've learned has been specifically from either reading the newsletter or to coming along with some of the things that we've learned from it.
Thank you. I'll pay you later.
So basically, you're talking about actually creating a followable breadcrumb trail, really.
Very much. It's always been a case of, I like to think of it as mousetrap with regards to, there's a honeypot at the end, but how you get to it sometimes might be a little bit more convoluted with regards to the methods in which you get to the end result. Might have to be a case of a whole series of different integrated solutions from either online and offline in order to be able to build that rapport enough that they're willing to be able to know, like, and trust you for when you get there.
Okay, no, that's a good strategy to have. I'm sorry, I'm also being sidetracked by Australia Wow, who said that you need more corporate twister.
Yes,
so,
I was looking at that as well. That'll be interesting.
I could actually see a whole bunch of execs sort of like in a board meeting having a
upside
game of
down.
Twister.
Yeah, be a bit weird. But that's the thing. You know, Rebecca actually said it's about, I don't know how to get in front of these people. You can get in front of them. You've just got to be creative about it. It's about being different. And I think there's a lot of people who fear the rejection, which is understandable, and lots of people do. But it's about making sure that you don't do the same as everybody else is doing, so that you are stood out, like sending them a car or Jenga or whatever in the post to just say, look, we are different. This is what we're about. Here's our pitch, so to speak. If you would like to know any more, then we can carry on.
Absolutely. So again, it's coming back down to making sure that everything is together before you get there.
Yes.
But then I think Jay has an interesting proposition that even the pitch is part of the campaign.
Well, that's the thing. The pitch is part of the campaign. Your customer service is part of the campaign. Your follow-up is part of the campaign. Absolutely everything that you do is part of that campaign, whatever that campaign is. So the campaign, the end result, whatever you want, is it a new client? Is it a new website? Is it a new, whatever it is, everything that you do has to be aimed at that. Everything. How you speak to people, how you expect people to pick up the phone and answer it, absolutely everything. And that's where integrated marketing comes in. And what we tend to see is people have a website, they have social media, they have email marketing, they've got a bit of video, but none of it pulls together. They just do it in separate pots and leave them on the platforms that they need to be on, instead of utilizing it all together. And that's what we do at Koogar. We sort of glue it all together.
Is that because people actually aren't quite congruent as to what it is they're doing, or they're too busy kind of thinking, well, we have this benefit, so let's shout it all out, and then actually they need to come back one stage, and when you're in it, you can lose sight of the wood for the trees, as they say.
One of the reasons is that they get overwhelmed and they're a little bit like, I don't know which platform to start on. Number two, they don't really know what to say. And number three, they actually don't know what they're trying to do, what they're trying to achieve. Not in terms of getting business or whatever, but what is the overall message? What is this business for? Why are we here? Why are we different? Understanding that internally before actually shouting about it, so that everybody who works for the business, in the business, even the accountants, everybody who's within that company knows exactly what it is that you do. And it's like, when you go to a network group and you've been recommended, but you've got a wrong referral. It's because that person doesn't understand what it is that you do.
Right.
Yeah? And marketing is used in that way as well. Some people come to you and then they're not the right customer. They're not the right customer because the message that you're trying to put out there isn't the right message. And they've seen different things. Like some people say, oh, you're really into social media. And some people say, oh, you're really into websites. Yes, I am. But it's the whole package.
It's tying it all together.
And if they don't understand, if your audience don't understand what it is that you do, it's because you're not pushing out the right message to be able to get the right customer. So it works a couple of ways.
So this is what Australia Well at the side is talking about with doing all the...
I forget to keep looking at this. Bye, Jay.
It's the Facebook ads, Twitter ads, targeting during TV shows in the UK and USA. He says, can you imagine a car repair garage running an ads on Top Gear in a specific geographical area? So I guess...
Is this on TV or...?
No, he's saying, like what you're saying, is running specific campaigns, ads, like the a car repair garage running an ad during a Top Gear program.
Yes, why not? Why not? Because everybody, you're in the mindset of it. There was a couple of years ago, when X Factor, not when it first came out, but when it was having a bit of a tough time, there was a couple of singing companies who taught people how to sing. Were actually, every time X Factor or somebody was tweeting with a hashtag, they would actually put something in. Check out this person; they've gone from here to here, here to here, and they were actually getting business from it. Because people are in the actual, you're in the mindset of, I'm watching X Factor, I'd like to win, I want to be better on stage or whatever. So pushing out your message at the right time to get the audience that you're looking for is key, isn't it? It's not about sitting on Facebook all day and tweeting and trying to link in with people that you've only met once and not necessarily sure that they're going to buy from you. It's about getting to the right people at the right time. But it's also about spending that time beforehand working out who they are, so you are in the right place at the right time.
Right. So it's again coming back down to doing the grunt work, that you still got to know what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So who you need to do it to.
Yeah. So marketing's not easy. It's not easy because we can't go to a local supermarket, pick it up off the shelf for 250 quid, 400 quid, whatever, and go, right, that's what we need to do. Because every single business is different. They've got different ethos, different goals, different business, different experience. Everybody, there's so many factors in every business that, yes, you might want to do the same as your competitors doing, but actually you don't do that part of the job. So there's no point in copying it. You've got to make your own sort of way. And what tends to happen with marketing is that people see other people do stuff, they get results, they try it, they don't get the result, and they think, oh, it doesn't work. It's pointless. When actually, if they spent time working out why it didn't work and then redoing it with a new factor or a new way, they will eventually find the key to their marketing.
Okay, so we've talked about companies sort of like trying to understand the integrated marketing for businesses, and them not totally understanding joining everything up together.
Yeah.
Do you have another on the spot moment time? Do you have any ideas, stats, figures, or information on what and the difference between joining a company that does join their marketing up, how more successful they are than a company who doesn't?
If you have a look at, is it AO? AO?
Okay.
Yeah, they're the people who you can buy a cooker off,
yes,
or a washing machine. If you have a look at their marketing, it's very, very clever. I went to a conference where one of the directors was speaking at it, and he showed us how he put their marketing plans together. And it wasn't about showing off a washing machine and saying, look at how many spins it does and look how many clothes it, look at all these functions and how small it is and all this kind of stuff. It was as simple as how many clothes can you fit in there? And he had all the clothes on, so he stripped off, and you had to guess how many clothes that you could fit in there. So everybody was inspired to engage with him and join in. It's not about selling what it is that you have. And when people had a problem with his company, they were able to talk to him and say, you haven't done this very well, what were you going to do about it? So he made AO, and still does, makes the company very approachable. So if I've got a problem, I can turn around to you and say, this needs fixing.
Which seems to be,
so,
yeah.
So not only is it, you've got little YouTube clips, people who are buying washing machines and cookers and tumble dryers, they're actually unboxing their own stuff and then sending AO their own little video just so they could get a little bit of fame on the website. Or does that make sense? So the engagement that they have is by using who they already have as a customer and getting them to do the marketing. Does that make sense? Whereas a company that hasn't got their integrated marketing working is that they're getting no comments on the website, on their blogs. They're getting very little likes on Facebook. They're not seeing any return on adverts on Facebook or Twitter. Does that make sense? They're just not getting any engagement. And the reason is because they're either sharing the same information too much, they're not interesting. And, I hate to say that, but sometimes people are just not interesting. They're quite boring. Well, it's true.
But isn't that because they just haven't found an interesting angle, or they just don't know how to make something interesting? Yeah,
because I think every business, and I'm I do this as well. We all assume that everybody knows what we do.
Okay,
don't we? We all assume. We all take it for granted that people know that I do social media. People know that I speak. People know that I do this. But sometimes they don't, or they forget, and that's why the 7 to 15 times is important, because we have to keep going back to them and saying, did you know that we do this? And constantly tell people. One of the biggest things that I find is when I speak to businesses is that they always say, I want new customers. And it's like, right, okay, so why do you want new customers? Well, because if we get new customers, we can sell more of this. Great. What about the current customers that you have? What about them? So what you don't want to do is, like the Sky thing. Anybody who's new can have this special offer. And all of you people who have been with us for the last 7 years get nothing.
Except for more price hikes.
Yeah. That's not what you want to do. You want to do it the opposite way. So you've been with us for a long time. This is what you get. You haven't been with us yet. This is what you get. And it's about, instead of looking at that door and saying, why isn't it being opened? Why aren't people coming through? You've already got people through. It's about upselling, cross-selling, and actually asking them if you would refer us. If yes, fantastic. Can you? If no, okay, why not? How can we fix that?
Now, that's an interesting point, because in my experience, a lot of people don't ask that simply because they're scared of no, we won't refer you, or no, we don't want to know the feedback because we know we're going to be bad. And they actually look at it as a negative.
Oh, yeah.
And for them, by not knowing the negatives, they can fool themselves that everything is great still.
Yes.
And carry on.
Yeah.
How can you use integrated marketing to ensure that they can twist the negatives into positives so they don't need to fear it?
Well, I think it's all, to be fair, you're always going to have a fear. If you put out there, a little survey to say how well we're doing and, are we living up to standard, and somebody comes back and says no, somebody will always come back and say no, because your standard and my standard could be very different to their standard. Yeah. And the standard of other companies that they've used or other people that they've done business with. So what we have to do on a regular basis, at least once a year, is keep going to people and saying, is there anything that we're not doing? Is there anything that we could be doing better? And I do this quite regularly with my customers. And every now and again, some of the big ones go, well, actually, you did this and it wasn't great. And it was like, oh, okay. So do you have any suggestions of helping me, fix this moving forward? Or this is what I'm going to do to move forward. So your company is constantly growing. Yes, it personally, it hurts a little bit. And you think, oh, but at the same time, you need to be grateful that they've actually turned around and said no. Because that means that you're approachable. That means that they're not going to be talking about you behind your back and saying how rubbish you are. They're actually saying it to your face. So you've got plenty of opportunities to say, right, okay, if people are saying this particular thing about the company, then we need to change that. What are we going to do to change that? And become really creative and tell everybody on social that, or on your website, on a blog or on a video, we've made a really big mistake and this is it. And this is what we're going to do to move forward.
Okay. But actually, you made a very good point that by taking ownership of it then, and then saying, right, okay, this gives us another way into the client again, or an opportunity to fix, you can actually then start saying, well, let's look for them to a certain degree.
Of course, yeah. It's not about leaving it. And going back to before, like we were saying, it's about having a conversation. If you and your friend have a conversation and they're saying something that you don't agree with, you don't just walk away. Maybe you do. Maybe some people do. You don't just walk away. You carry on having that discussion, and you either have an argument or you agree to disagree. But you have a conversation. By somebody saying, no, I don't like you, or whatever, put it out there on social, or saying that you haven't done a good job, by ignoring it or deleting it just says you don't care. But by going back and holding your hands up and saying, yes, we did wrong, or actually we didn't do wrong, but we could see why you didn't see our point of view, and this is what we're going to do to move forward. It's about having that conversation, because everybody has different ideals and
what's a good idea is not somebody else's idea, as they say. So
no.
Jay's actually a lovely point about airways.
Yes.
A couple of years ago, they changed something about their check-in process without telling anyone or asking their customers, and it went terribly bad. So they used social media, YouTube, to simply and publicly apologise and saying that they hear you and that they're going to put it right. So that's a good way of actually using all the platforms to reinstate their underlying message of that they are actually listening and engaging with people then. Yeah,
because there's nothing worse than having a bad experience and you're just completely ignored. I was in a restaurant a couple of months ago and they said to me, are you ready to pay? And I was like, no. I said, do you want to pay? I said, no. Okay, can I have your credit card then? There was no like, oh, what was wrong? What didn't you enjoy? It's like, okay, there's my credit card. Have it. You're not asking me for feedback. You're not going to get it. I won't be back. But yeah,
but that would be down to the owner or the restaurant to actually train the waiter though of how to handle those situations.
Of course, yeah.
Because if you've got a chef who's cooking bad food, the last thing you want is somebody not to come back.
Yeah, well, it wasn't actually the food; it was the waiter.
The waiter themselves. Oh well, so you wasn't going to leave a tip that night then?
No, I didn't. But the point is that you say that it's up to the business owner. Yes, it is. But if the business owner isn't there and he's not the one that's serving me, or she's not the one that's serving me, he's not going to know. They're not going to know of the problem that you're having, which is why integrated marketing is about the staff. It's about absolutely everybody who's involved in that company knowing exactly how you do business, what you do, and also giving, I would go as far as to say, is giving the waiter, waitress responsibility, and say, if something goes wrong, then I'm happy for you to make a decision and move forward with it, and not say I have to go to see the manager, because that's just going to infuriate somebody else.
Empowering people to get on and do their job, as it were.
Yeah, and if you make a mistake, you make a mistake, but we can learn from that. But moving forward, we need to, deal with the problem there and then.
Sorry, that goes back to Sam's point earlier then, which is the important thing is to engage and acknowledge customers' complaints.
Yes.
So that restaurant would be at fault for not teaching their staff to acknowledge complaints or how to handle them. So either that, or it's just the one waiter who's not willing to engage and handle complaints, in which case he shouldn't be in that role then.
True. Yes, I agree.
Okay. So obviously when they get the integrated marketing right and they understand that everybody in the business has a part to play in it, it's not just the marketing team. No. I think that's also your other key message.
Yes.
That it is beyond the marketing team. All the marketing team doing is just helping set the message, helping with the breadcrumbs, but then everyone else has to help in leading others down those breadcrumb trail.
Yeah. The best explanation of marketing I've ever come across was by a guy called Matthew Kimberley. And I saw him speaking at a conference, and it was what he said was fab. And what he said was, marketing does not bring you business. Marketing brings you awareness. It's what you do with that awareness that brings you business.
That's very good, actually.
Yeah.
I might use that.
So, for example, we had a conference in September that went really well. Marketing the conference went really well. We got people to the event. So marketing it was okay. We got the awareness. So it's what I do with the awareness. So what I do afterwards with the people who attended the conference. Did you like it? Is there other speakers that you'd like to see? What didn't you like? Was the food okay? All of that kind of stuff. Because I've got the awareness now, you've sat in the auditorium and listened to everybody. What am I going to do with that? But a lot of people think that marketing is what actually brings you business, which it is true. It just tells people that you're there and ready. So when they're ready, they can come and buy from you.
So you've just described the classic synopsis of where a person, an MD, says marketing is useless.
Yes.
Marketing doesn't work.
Yes.
And it's because they actually don't understand it.
No, it's not that they don't understand, it's that they expect too much from it. And the thing is, because marketing for every business isn't tried and tested, we have to keep trying and testing and make sure that it works on a regular basis and measure. Are we doing stuff right? Are we not doing? Can we tweak something? Is this actually what people want to see? Without doing all of that, we don't know whether the marketing is working. And what the MDs and what the team leaders and all those people that you report back to, and here's the stats on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, they expect business to come from that. When in actual fact, what you should be looking for is engagement. You should be looking for people talking about you. You should be looking for people who are retweeting and talking to them and saying, thanks very much for the retweet. How can we reward you? And not in terms of a monetary value, but in terms of, a social proof or kudos value. What can we give you? What can we, give for free? Does that make sense? But lots of people think that the more marketing they do, the more business that they get, which is why marketing is the first thing that is stopped in any business, because people are just constantly trying to get in those sales, which is fine. I get that. But once you get in those sales and marketing's dropped, everybody stops hearing about you. And if everybody stops hearing about you, then to ramp that marketing back up is going to be really difficult, because you're not going to get the business straight away. It's a constant cycle. So it's not that they don't understand, it's just that they expect too much from the marketing.
Right, okay. Sam and Dina, because they're both just sort of like making some lovely comments down the side.
Okay.
What we're talking about is, yes, Koogar, Amanda actually totally gets that marketing is the whole thing and it's not just one bit. And she's been saying for the prior to you guys coming, how businesses need to join up everything, that it's not just one little bit of your business, it is everything is part of the marketing. But unfortunately, there are people out there in business who thinks that marketing is just a little tiny department and that's it, and that their job is to create nice little pamphlets and leaflets and create the website as and when they need to. But that's it. No one else needs to engage in that. So that as far as campaigns are concerned, the owner will turn around to, or the guy at the top will turn around to the marketing department saying, you need to get the business in. But as Amanda said, can you just say that phrase about the awareness again? So
marketing doesn't bring you business. Marketing brings you awareness. It's what you do with that awareness that will bring you business.
Which is exactly what Sam was saying, that she put out the tweet about what she does and that she's got a DM about that and she's got the business from that. So that's exactly the point that he's making. But it's creating the awareness, but then it's everybody's job to be part of that awareness. And it's to understand that when that awareness happens, how you then handle that awareness.
It's it's customer service as well. Another conference I went to, I think Jay attended as well. The person said, if you change your role, change your name, change your role to director of first impression. How would you react? How would you change your business? If you change the receptionist's role, on her badge, instead of receptionist to director of first impression, she is the first person that people see. The maitre d' of the restaurant is the first person that people see, not the chef. It's not about the food yet. They've got to get into the restaurant and sit down in the first place. So if everybody had that role, director of first impression, the business would work very differently. The marketing would work very differently, and the message would be pushed out a lot more because everybody gets what you're trying to do.
Okay. Well, here's a question from Dina: is how do you differentiate integrated marketing with marketing strategies?
Marketing strategies. Well, I think that's it's your understanding of marketing and marketing strategy. I think integrated, as I mentioned before, integrated marketing is about having the same message but said in different ways across different platforms. So it all, it's all singing from the same hymn sheet. A strategy is about a specific end goal. So if you want more customers, then the strategy for that more customers is very different from selling 10 times more of that particular product. So the strategy for selling that product is very different to getting more customers. So a strategy is based on a specific end result, whereas integrated marketing is the whole message, but across different platforms and said in different ways.
So it's still creating different awarenesses, or using the awareness, I should say.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Which is,
but that's for me. Other people in marketing, they might see it a completely different way, because my experience is very much digital. I've been a professional web designer for 17 years, so I've always been on the digital side of stuff, video, websites, Flash, or all of that kind of stuff. So if you're a traditional marketeer, then your take will be very different from mine. But that's why I said it's semantics, isn't it? It's what you put marketing down as.
Okay, well, Sam agrees with you. She said brilliant tips, and she agrees with you on that one. So
thank you.
And I think that is the key problem, though, that there are people with so many different ideas of what marketing actually is, and that's what gets onto I guess the nerves of the guys at the top, because they're told that this is marketing, that's marketing, something else is the marketing. Hence why you've actually come across and you're saying, right, it's not just one little thing, it is everything. It's the awareness, it's bringing it back all and just tying it up with the business of what they're trying to do, and bringing the awareness in line with what they're trying to do, as opposed to this being different from that campaign to this strategy to that sales method. And
because the marketing and sales are how I've had explained to me is like oil and water. They don't go together, they don't mix, but you need them.
Okay.
Okay, so you need the marketing to get the awareness so the salespeople can then sell and follow up. But without the marketing, those salespeople aren't going to get anything.
Okay, because people would say that, well, I've done sales, but I don't do marketing. But in actual fact, they are doing it just by sending out a Twitter and saying, "Hi, can I come and talk to you?" It's creating that awareness.
Yeah, it's anything that you do in your business. It could be T-shirts that you wear. It could be signage on your van. It could be. It's just anything. It's when you go out and shake somebody's hand and say, "Hi, my name's so and so from wherever." You know, that's marketing. It's how you come across. It's, you know. The first impressions counts. Like I said, if you changed your role to directors of first impression, that's everything. You know, and marketing isn't just about pushing out that brand. It's about the brand itself as well, and what does that stand for.
Okay, we've got a lovely kind of poser from Chef Serik, if I've pronounced that name correctly.
Okay.
He wants to increase his sales in his restaurant by 25,000. So he makes an advertisement inserts in the paper about his restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
His strategy would be to change the menu to give it a wow effect. Would you correct him if he's wrong in that?
Increase his sales by 25. Is that a year or a month? Because the strategy for that would be very different. That's a week. So 25 grand a week. Really? Okay. So that's going to be very different from 25 grand a month. So restaurants putting your menu in a newspaper. Is that what you're saying?
Putting adverts. Yes. Chef, are you just able to quickly jump on?
Yeah. Can you give me
That's
a bit
probably
more?
Be easier. Are you able to jump on quickly?
Go on. Just call me Chefy.
And Serik, sorry. Right, we're just waiting for him to come on.
No, I'm not getting on camera.
Oh,
I'm just waking up, so.
That's fine.
Okay, so explain to me your situation then.
Well, right now I'm trying to bring in more sales to my restaurant.
Okay.
It's not the service, because I got customers that come back religiously, but I want to increase it. Do I put stuff in the paper, or do I don't know, door-to-door pamphlets or something? I don't know.
So are you trying to, because the thing is, if you're trying to increase it up to 25 grand a week, have you got the cover space for that, to do that?
Yes.
You have.
It's
So
not so much the cover space. It's more of the turnover for customers. You know, do I let them stay for like 20 minutes or an hour? And, you know, it's how many times the table turns over.
Okay. So what is your usual turnover time?
Right now it's between a half and 45.
Okay, and what is it that what's your restaurant? What is it, your specialties and you sell?
Italian and French cuisine.
Okay, so is it a la carte or is it?
I'm sorry. You may call it different there, but what do you mean a la carte?
I was going to say posh, but that's not right.
Is it quick turnaround food?
Is it quick turnaround food? Is it just eat your lunch and go, or is it having an experience with friends and family?
It's having an experience.
Okay, so having an experience is very different.
$35 to $75 a dish, you know.
Okay.
They're there for the food, not the socialization.
Right. So the turnaround time needs to be longer.
Really?
Because if they're there for the experience, if they're there for the experience, any foodie doesn't want to be rushed out of moving from one place to another. So if they're there for the experience, you need to let them stay for a little bit longer to enable them to buy more.
Yep.
Because so the result that you want is a 25 grand.
Mm-hmm.
But is it to get the people that are already there to spend more, or is it to actually fill the covers? Because if you've only got one table, that's more to fill the covers.
Yeah, because right now I think that if I jack the prices on dishes more, I start losing customers. Because I'm not Blumenthal.
Okay.
So, but it's high quality food, and it's just, I don't know. How do I make that increase?
Okay. Have you ever asked your customers if they would recommend you?
Oh yeah.
And have they?
Yeah.
And have you rewarded them for it?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Usually I'll get free dinners, or we had a wine tasting, and those who did referrals, they got to come into the wine testing for free, because those are usually $250 to come in, because the kind of wines that are brought into the taste testing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's a small reward, but they're decent.
Okay. Are the customers that you have in the customers that you want, or not?
Yeah, they are. They're not to sound like a spook or a stuck up. There's business owners, Rotary Club people who make a difference in the community.
You broke up then. Sorry, I can't hear you very well.
Not to sound like a spook. These are people who are business owners, people who make a difference in community, part of the Rotary Club, people who make the decisions of what goes on around here.
Okay.
Sam's got a nice idea there at the side. Sometimes a restaurant doesn't need a lot of dishes on the menu.
Nope.
It's an experience that they come for the food. Ask them to tweet pics of a selfie comp and use hashtag like at Surrey Rocks or something. And the best selfie of the week wins a free bottle of wine. So it's coming back down to what Amanda was talking about earlier. It's what awareness do you want? Because listening to what Amanda's been sharing with us already, I would say if you're going to jazz up the menu and go a wow menu, you could actually devalue your awareness of what you're.
Hi.
And if you're devaluing your awareness already, then you're actually changing your awareness. So the current customers will then start getting confused as to what it is you're doing, because if they're already getting a very valued experience, and now you're engaging with different clientele that come in who may not be, let's say, wanting to pay the prices that you were at, and they're wanting cheaper menu, then as a business, you then put into what you was talking about earlier, Sam, earlier Amanda as well, with not being integrated, not actually working together.
It sounds like there's a lot of distance between what you're trying to achieve and what you're actually doing to achieve that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. See, here's my problem is I'm not a people person. I'm back to house. I'm away from everybody.
Okay. Are you a chef?
My passion is food, nothing but food. To be honest with you, I hate people. Okay.
Most chefs do. I'm perfectly honest. So is it
kind of shows if he's no picture either. Like it's like, no, I don't want people to see me. I want to stay in the background.
So you're head chef, and it's your restaurant.
I mean, yes, it is.
Okay, so
right now we have it's a 27 item menu, very small, very elegant food. It's not complicated. I have 15 people at work for me. That's including the maitre d' and the waitresses and the bartender. Okay. So it's not a big staff, but it's adequate for what I do. There's right now there's 20 tables in the restaurant. Okay. So it's big enough for what we are. So I want to. You're saying that I should decrease the price and increase the wait time? Am I? Is that losing money?
No, you're not losing money, because anybody who goes out for food and spending the kind of money that you're saying that they're spending on that food does not want to be rushed. They want to have. It's all about the experience. It's all about the ambience. It's about how that maitre d' treats them. It's about when the maitre d' asks them at the right point, once they've swallowed the food, if the food is nice. How many minutes have they left? It's about the experience. It's not just about the food. I understand that you're about the food, and I understand that you don't like the people, which is fine. But have you actually asked your team about running that restaurant in terms of what their ideas are? Because being in the kitchen is very different from being front of house.
Oh yeah, all the time. I talk. They give me input, and then here's the thing: the people who work front of the house, I pretty much give them free reign until I hear someone bitch about it. Excuse language.
Okay. No, it's fine. It's fine. But actually, what you might want to do is send in some mystery shopping to make sure that they are doing the right job and they are putting out the message that you want them to put out. Because if they're not, it could be that they're still polite, but they're not actually doing what you want them to do. They're not selling how many, selling, I don't know, lobster for you when you want them to sell lobster instead of steak. They have to have targets as well, because it is a business. Yeah. It's not just about them getting the orders in. It's what order have you recommended the specials on the boards today. And the only reason why I'm talking about all of these things and more front of house is because my dad actually ran 6 dining rooms in Fairmont Hotel in Bermuda. So being around a restaurant and dining rooms is quite
yeah. And my brother's a chef as well, so I worked for him. And you're right, the front of house is totally different to the chef.
Yes.
And the chef can be very stressed in the kitchen and totally different world, Yeah.
Mm. So as a chef in the back of house, your job really, and you already know this, so I don't want to teach you how to suck eggs or, I'm not dissing you at all, but what you need to concentrate is back of house. You need to make sure that your kitchen is run. You need to make sure that the plates are ready. You need to make sure everything back there is doing how you need to do it, and let front of house do front of house. If you want to be part of front of house, then come out of the kitchen and be part of front of house, but you can't do both. You need to be able to have the right team to enable them to sell what it is that you're trying to achieve. I think without knowing a little bit more about your restaurant and seeing the kind of food that you do, I can't be more specific, but we can always take this offline. You can tweet me and we can have a conversation, just you and I, or you and Cindy, or you and Sam. But I'm more than happy to help. I just think this is a bit niche for what we're trying to talk about.
At the moment, but yeah. And not only that, I think there's also been some good questions on the side as well by Patricia. She was saying, is your market large enough to increase by the amount you want? Mm-hmm. And are they using your restaurant for business or leisure? So I think it's a good idea that perhaps you hook up with Amanda afterwards and just talk a little bit further, because it sounds like she'll be able to help you. But
yeah, she knows her stuff, definitely. She knows her stuff. And I only met her just now. But I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. And I've just did a tweet on Twitter mentioning you to join in. But definitely there are some, it's really, I suppose, who is your customer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because we don't sell to all that, Sam. No. Did you have a question, Sam?
No, I was just asked to drop in, so I just dropped in on the stadium. I'm in my tracksuit. Sorry, it's a bank holiday here in Ireland, so I'll jump out again. But I just wanted to say to you, I totally agree with all the points you're saying, and you're dead right. And I did do that tweet, and she is direct messaging me, and she wants to do a call with me. So there you go. I just did what you told me to do. I just said, "Did you know that I do this?" and then she direct messaged me. So there you go. So sometimes you have to remind people,
You do, because you know what? Well, we have so much information thrown at us every single day. We just forget what people do, and this is why it's important to have one-to-ones, and nurture the relationships that we already have. What people tend to forget is they forget to look after the current customers, the customers that have got them to where they are today. And without those people, you wouldn't be there. So sometimes we have to go back and say thank you.
Well, I'll give you an example. I have a client, she's a jeweler's, and she said, "Oh, we have wonderful reviews." And I was like, "Oh," and I had a look, and there were brilliant reviews from a woman who bought diamond ring. They bought wedding rings, and diamonds are the biggest, profit makers for them. So I was like, have you actually got back to these people and said, "Thank you so much for the review," and maybe rewarded them in some way and asked them, "Can you put the review on the website?" And she was like, "No, I never thought of that." So I was saying, these are customers that have already bought a big product from you. So the chance of them coming back for another one in the future, like an eternity ring or, whatever, then it's really big because they already had a nice experience with you. So that's what I was saying. So exactly what you're saying there. If we look after the ones that are already raving about us and telling people about us, they're our biggest marketeers. Like, so, you know, not use them, but nurture them. You know, nurture those relationships. You know.
Yeah, I was speaking to a jeweler actually last week, and we were talking about, you know, how to get in front of those people again. And, you know, jewelers, depending on the kinds of rings that you're selling and what jewelry you're selling, it always needs cleaning. Because when we clean it ourselves, it's not quite the same as when a jeweler cleans it, is it?
Exactly,
sometimes one thing that Jay and I were talking about a couple of weeks ago with regards to another jeweler is that things also need valuing every now and again, especially when you've been away and you've bought new things. And, you know, so it is about having that conversation with people. And even if you've only got 5 people as customers, you know, as a jeweler, you only need a 20 grand ring to be
and then also they sometimes lose a stone out of the ring or whatever, and supposed to send a reminder to them that, look, did you know that we do this? You know, if you do need, you know, something. Look, I better go. Sorry, my daughter's dad is here to pick her up. I better go. Sorry.
It's okay. Sorry, couldn't resist with Sam, because Sam is one of the good ones. She comes out with good advice, and if she's saying that you're good, then you're good.
Thanks, Sam.
So yeah.
I don't mean to jump in and jump out, but I got to get going for work. So it was nice talking to you guys. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you for joining in.
See you soon.
And there we have it. Customer reward scheme works well in her experience. Yes. Patricia's actually been saying some lovely things down the side and some giving lovely information for the chef as well. So I'm hoping he will pick those up as well. And do you realise we've been going for just over an hour now?
Wow. Sorry.
No problem. But what I'd like to do is, if we can end this session for the moment, and we can perhaps pick this up a little bit further on and a little bit more for a second session, if that's okay.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, thanks very much for having me, and thanks for asking. I hope I answered all your questions, and
okay,
that's lovely. It was useful.
Yeah, because I know you've got an ebook.
I do.
You've also got, so I'd like to explore a little bit more about that in the next session, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Right then. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. I'll see you soon.